Thank you everybody for inviting me. This is a presentation I gave a couple of times in the past, but never to this audience. Maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I gave it on a Russian Boston TV to a very different crowd. And here I'm trying to get engaged with people who probably know much more about Judaism, but maybe a little bit less about geography and connecting Tanach to the land of Israel. So I start from my personal experience. Many years ago, when I was in my, I think, teenage years, that book was translated to Russian somewhere and smuggled to the Soviet Union. So obviously everything in the Soviet Union concerned Israel, Zionism, was illegal. And I read it. Probably they just gave me to me maybe like for a day or two, so I like read very quick. Again, this book would be criticized quite a bit from the point of view of Orthodox Judaism, but I'm not going to get to this book. I'm going to get into one page, which later I found was interesting. And this is the page. I don't know if people see it, but basically the story, I mean, it's many stories in this book. One story is about I think it's 1881, 1882, Jewish boys from Ukraine ran away from pogrom, and instead of running some other place, they decided to go on foot to Eretz Israel, and took them maybe 2, maybe 3 years. Again, 1881, 1882, and those boys are not yeshiva boys. They're just regular Jewish boy from Zhytomyr, like one who is shtetl. And they come, if you imagine geography, going from the north. And the first thing, one of the first things they see in Eretz Israel is a place called Hatzor. And they come and they get very excited. First of all, they know what it is. They immediately connect that place with the story of Yehoshua. And one of the guys gets excited. The other character is not supposed to get ever excited, but he knows what they're talking about. And to me, it was interesting because most of the people don't know what Hatzor is. Some people know, but very few people have been there. Although it's a major attraction, if you like systematically study land of Israel, because it's a very important landmark. So for those who haven't been there, this is a classic signature statue in Hatzor. It's there, it's in the north. It has a lot of significance. I'm just like giving examples. My understanding, maybe it's just a fiction thing, but my understanding back at the time, people kind of like easily knew like basic places of geography of Israel, which now may or may not be the case. To be really honest, I actually learned about this place specifically. I've been like quite a bit into Jewish guide, and I already been Orthodox, and I already like was observant. But after some years, I mean, I had to like learn it and understand where it is. So it's like one of the examples. Typically, when you go to Israel and get like a standard tour guide, then first guy which has to go to Hatzor, he said he knows about it. He learned about it to a tour guide school, but he hasn't been there for 10 years before I asked him, something like this. So those are like classic things they show you, which are great. I'm not saying anything against them. This is a new bridge in Jerusalem, Calatrava. This is Baha'i Gardens. This is, what is Bacho's houses in Tel Aviv. All these nice things, which I mean, I'm very proud of. Like, you know, a lot of things that they've done in Israel. But the idea is like, you know, sometimes after you see those things, you go once or twice, you kind of like would like to kind of connect to the, I mean, I don't want to say follow them, but how to like to Bible them, whatever. And those things are like, I mean, they're not like always, they're not like on the surface. You need to like search for them. Of course, you can look at the Dead Sea. Dead Sea probably has some connection to the Bible, but again, not a major one. And of course, Masada, again, this kind of later period. And those are like a major tourist attractions. If you want to go deeper, you go to this place. This place is called Beit Shan. And every tour guide on the, like if you take like a tour guide book, on the cover, it shows this. But if you look into it, why they're there? Because first of all, because there are a lot of things to see, but those columns are not artifacts from Bible. These are like Greeks. The Jewish part is like on the top. Let's see if I can see it. Yeah. It's on the top, and it's not there, but it's not that obvious. It's not much to see. Of course, we're not talking about uh, things uh, like say Rome or London, and of course, there's not a lot of things to see, but we would like to see those things. Now, this is a major tourist attraction. Where is it in the Bible? Yeah, Beth-El is mentioned, kind of minor thing if you know Bible very well. For example, one of the things that comes to mind when the King Shul was killed, I believe uh, Lishtim took him to Beth-El, took his body to Beth-El, and then it was like stolen by Jewish volunteers, whatever. But it's definitely not a major place in the Bible, but at the same time, it is for those who like really specifically interested in not just the land of Israel, but like historical or archaeological part. This is a major place. Even about Jerusalem. I mean, everyone knows this picture is a great picture, but how do you like, in your mind, distinguish biblical or later part? I mean, where are we? Okay, sorry, I got a little bit scared. So where are we as far as like finding like biblical Jerusalem? There's a lot of like later levels and layers from Turkey and all type of things. So it takes some training, some thinking, some maybe research to figure out where things are. So from here to get to those biblical landmarks, it's not that easy. And again, some of the places have been like there forever, but people don't go to them. Well, here we have a Hinnom Valley, which is a famous border between the Shevet Yehuda, Shevet Binyamin. You have Mount Har Zion, Zion, and Armoria. They're different. Then you have Kidron Valley. Of course, there's the city of David, and then there's a place called, for example, Ein Rogel. I mean, to me, very major place from the Tanach, where Hinnom Valley and Kidron Valley meet. There's like several stories there, but I mean, Ein Rogel. That's on the right lower quadrant. Ein Rogel. Multiple references in Tanakh, but not something that people would easily go. I can say one of the reasons people don't go there that often because East Jerusalem, not the safest place to be, but it's just like one of the examples. Like usually people like see what they are offered to see, like Montefiore meal, churches, wall made by Cinema Magnificent. But if you like specifically interested into like Bible, Jewish, you need to do additional research. It's not on the surface. So this is a standard tour guide. I need to say, I mean, there are books which are like more dedicated to biblical tourism, some in English, the Bible location, some in Hebrew, the Tanakh. I mean, but they're like kind of thin, and they're not very famous, and they don't cover the whole territory. They like 5, 6, 7 different places. Okay, this is still introduction. A couple of more things. So obviously, like this is not the mainstream. If you want to specifically go and get some biblical sites. Just a quick thing. We went in February. Doesn't look very attractive. Probably nobody knows what it is because I made this picture kind of like plain, nothing there. A couple of bushes, maybe farming land, and basically this is the elevator. This is the place where David and Goliath had their famous duel. Not a single landmark, not a single statue, nothing there. But people go, people know it, people come there. This is what next to the road from different angles. There's a single group there, but they're not the only ones. There's another group from Atlanta, Georgia. They came there. As you see, not a lot of artifacts were left. I think Goliath's helmet or whatever was taken out. It's not there, and not marked, which might be good, maybe not good. I don't know. But that's what it is. So if you like decide to go there, you don't expect to see major monuments. And this is that they don't have a parking lot. So those are people from Atlanta. They have to stop at the side of the road and they go into the bus. It is close to Bethlehem, yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's like there's some discrepancy. If you want to like specifically go to the like Bible places, Torah, Tanakh places, they not necessarily have some artifacts which you could see. If you want to go this way, you need to be prepared for that. I don't want to be honest. That's another like things. Laveli, they trying to find like smooth stones, whatever. This is a place which is not as famous, but it has a lot of like things to see. So this is it's a feed park, and this place called Gath. This is one of the 5 cities of Plishtim. And again, this is the birthplace of Goliath. There's another story, and now maybe more than one story. For example, when King David was pretending to have mental problem to save his life from the king of Plishtim, he was at that place. So there's a little bit more development there. Let's see. Did we move? Okay. So we have a little bit of a monument, maybe a little bit of statue, some type of marks, couple of posters. Nice place. A lot of like maybe caves. Road up to the Tel, some type of ancient stones. Well, I guess those are just arrows showing how far it from other places. Again, a little wonderful Israeli view, a little bit of tourist development. And of course, they have some archaeological ruins. I heard, I'm not sure what that place, they said that the first iron which was made in the land of Israel was made on this step. So again, not a very famous place, the Tanach point of view, like birthplace of Goliath, but at the same time, it's more developed for like as a tourist attraction. Okay, and one more example before we go to the main thing. There's a place called Tel Timna. I spelled in the Hebrew on purpose because most of the people, when they think about Timna, they think about Timna with iron. That Timna on the south, next to Eilat, copper mine and stuff like that. This is different Timna. The Timna where it was next to Beth Shemesh, also where there was a story of Yehuda and Tamar and the story of Shimshon. And it's interesting how it's organized. Little poster, kind of old. Once, I think 2 pictures on the bottom. One is, I would say, Rembrandt. The other one showing Yehuda Tamar. The other one about Shimshon, how here fights lion. Okay, in the back, next to horizon, there is this Tel Tim. There's not a single road. So basically, you need to park your car and walk through the field. That's what it is. That type of things you get. It's still very interesting, still very exciting. But that type of things you get into versus like, well-developed tourist attraction. Just like one example. Interesting site, couple of old walls. Again, another poster. The tour guide holding like some type of archaeology book, this type of things. All right. So from now on with this introduction, what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of not just go as a tourist. I mean, we're religious people. We want to study Tanach and supplement our study with trips to Israel. We've already been to all this like basic, major, standard attraction. We want to see things which I mentioned in the Bible. Well, first of all, there are, maybe they becoming now, countries to Tanakh which have maybe to some extent similar ideas. The first one I would say came to me, in 2019, almost brand new. He published Tanakh with his commentaries, and you can see pictures, our Grizim, our Bracha. I think they're talking about the Givon knights who were like burying the skin barrels with water, and he's showing that they still carry water sometimes in backpacks. Little map. I think they're showing here old picture. Again, the map is like more like diagram. Very difficult to use this map if you really want to walk those ways. And he's showing how Yehoshua is chasing Amorites after they moved to Givon and basically held the city to withstand the other Canaanite tribes, Canaanite cities. And that's what we have. Have another relatively new edition, Tanakh of the Land of Israel. Wonderful book. I like it. The problem is, so far, there's only one volume that has been published in 2021, and hopefully they will be publishing more. So those things are coming up, but I mean, they're not ready. Okay, so with this introduction, we're going to understand why specifically this rule. Why are we talking about Jericho to Bethel? Although maybe it's not even Jericho to Bethel, it's also some famous story, like say Gilgal to Givon, some Jericho to Ai and not to Beth-El. And well, we've taken aside a lot of things. I guess I did a couple of slides, but the bottom line is if you try to go before that and try to like put Torah on the map, there are probably like more question marks than the known places. Yes, they found one place, they found another, but there's still too many places mentioned in the Torah, which, especially on Sinai, for example, which we have no idea where they came from. I'm just trying to support that from a professional historian, Paul Johnson, History of the Jews, famous book. Basically, he says the same thing. Before we went to the Yehoshua, all our historical knowledge, with some exceptions, are not supported by archaeological evidence. So Yehoshua is kind of the place where we have like some type of, again, not exact, but there's some type of archaeological understanding. I just wanted to say this is not my idea. This has been actually written by famous historian. We have like a big challenge today. We need to cover a lot of materials, and we'll try to go as much as we can, as far as we can. The bulk of the today's this story will be road from Jericho to Bethel, but every so often we're going to go slightly over the road because a couple of other places there are also very interesting and very exciting from the multiple biblical stories. Okay, so here all I want to say is the Jews went out of Egypt, somehow went to the desert where they went with multiple stories. The main point here is that the Jews had to cross that rift from west to east, African Syrian, and they came to close to the land of Israel from the east, and they were going west. So they were not going this way. They crossed the rift somewhere south from the Dead Sea. That's all I can say here. Next, let's stop in the desert was Abel Shittim. When they camped, next is Mount Nebo, so the land of Israel, where God showed him, and in this area, where he passed away. Nobody knows where it is, but of course, people put some monuments and places and whatnot. The Mount Nebo is a known place. I think 2 or 3 different Catholic popes were there. This is not a cross. This is a copper serpent. This is not my picture. Just took it from somewhere. And of course, back at the horizon, far away, this is across the Jordan River. This would be the land of Israel. Okay, this is my personal attempt to photograph it. If you can throw from it, you can see here in the middle a couple of. That's probably Mount Nebo. I'm not really sure, but I try to use binoculars to make that picture. Okay, so we went to Abel Shittim. From there, we kind of go now with Yehoshua. He sent 2 spies, Caleb and Pinchas, to Jericho, and Abel Shittim is like a well-known place. Again, this is now on the east side of Jordan River in the country of Jordan. Again, the pictures from somebody else. Here I need to basically say a couple of words about the geography of the land of Israel because we get in there. So all the biblical classic cities are on the top of the mountain ridge. So from south to north, you go to Hebron, Jerusalem, Beth-El, Shiloh, and Shem. They're all on the top. Jericho, of course, is very much in the valley, about maybe 4 or 5 miles west from the Dead Sea and Jordan River. And while they were crossing from west to east, from Abel Shittim to a place called Gilgal. We don't know where it is, but it's by description next to Jericho. And Mount Nebo is there. So this is like basic geography. You have like kind of mountain ridge. On the west is Mediterranean. On the right is that rift from the Dead Sea and the Jordan River. And in order to get to the whole land, you need to go by very steep mountains. So I made a little diagram here, and I will show it with pictures. From Jericho to get to the mainland of Israel, it's almost impossible to go without climbing equipment, with some exceptions. When we have a wadi kind of cuts through the rock and makes that descent not as steep. And for our purpose, we need three. We need Wadi Kilt. Some people call it Wadi Kelt. There's another name for the Wadi Prat, a very famous tourist attraction around Jerusalem. Then we have Wadi Suvinit, which join the Wadi Kelt. And then we have more north, Wadi Tzvaim. In English, it's spelled Zvaim because it's not Sadi letter. But this is less famous, and that kind of follows from Jericho to Beth-El. So this is our basic geography. And from there, we have several roads from Jericho west. One is from Jericho to Jerusalem. It is famous because of a lot of Christian attraction. This is a story of Good Samaritan. And along this road, approximately, there's like a highway. So you could basically take a bus, and the way people usually go from Jerusalem to the Dead Sea, they use this road. Well known, well described, and so on. We can say, well, it's more of the story because the road actually doesn't go to Jericho. The road goes to the Dead Sea. We'll see how it bends, because the British, when they built it, they were not interested in going to Jericho. They were interested in going to the Dead Sea. But we'll see that bend. But all the road goes from Jericho to Jerusalem. Okay, so that's that road. But I mean, you just Google it. You can go to YouTube, and you can find a lot of reference to it, how people walk it, how people have it. It's not something that we need to discuss. And you can see it on the map. You can see how it is. It's supposed to go like this, but as I said, British were not interested in going to Jericho, so they made the road this way, so it goes to the Dead Sea, and there's a little bend. So the ancient road goes like this, and the new road makes a bend. A couple of pictures of the way it looks. You will see this bushes. This is where the Wadi Kelt is. Next to the Wadi, it's always some vegetation, so you can kind of follow where it is. The picture that's kind of landscape we see all the time, and we go in through that Wadi. We're staying exactly at the bend. And I just wanted to make a little pop-up to show that here we have a couple of known landmarks, which are more interesting for our road. And it shows there's a place called Dokus, also describing some things were happening later here, probably around like 1st or 2nd century BC. But I mean, that's how we can identify it. Okay, so that's that part. And this is the road, regular road. You can see like Jericho a little bit far away, and over there we already see the country of Jordan, and the mountain over there on the east part of the Jordan River. Okay, then we have another road. It's called, sometimes we call it Ephraim route, obviously because this is the land of Ephraim. We already liked. We make quickly about where the tribes are. Yehuda or Judah is south. In the middle is Binyamin, and north is more Ephraim. Not as famous, but it's there. It doesn't follow any wadi, it just go like zigzag. Went there as well. I hope I'm going to move. Yes, some type of a retention wall here. And we go on this road like zigzag. We're going to the place called Ofra, a couple of Bedouin constructions or some type of Arab constructions, some changes in the landscape. The clay, I think, is like more red color here. And we come to that famous town called Ofra, Taiba. That's a Christian Arab city where there's like 10 or 12 different Christian denominations. I think this might be Byzantine. This is Catholic. Doorstep. This is exactly how they do it for Passover, but they do it now. So all this is blood sprinkled on the doorpost. I don't know when they do it. They do it every so often. I mean, I don't know which denomination it is. We just came there and we saw it. I can research it more, but that's what we found when we investigated the area. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so those are like two roads from Jericho. One is somewhat maybe west, somewhat like northwest, But we're not interested in that. We're interested in the straight path there from Jericho to Bethel. That's the topic of this lecture. And I tried and tried and tried, and I researched and I looked and I was trying to find what it could be there. It must be there.
That was in Jericho. What was this Christian?
No, that's a place called Taibe, which is biblical offering. You can see it on the very top, and you see the green here. It's here, approximately. So it's like 2/3 way to Bethel, but it's like sometime highway going from Jericho to Bethel this way. That road is like forgotten. Nobody's using it. Nobody knows what it is. We don't show it anywhere. But Rav Steinzal showed it. That off-road type, which we were just talking about, it's here. So this road is definitely going like south. I mean, Rav Steinzal showed it on this map. It must be there. So we need to find it somehow. I took a special book called Roads and Highways of Ancient Israel. I bought like J30, J31. There's Jericho there. There's like Beth-El and I. So it's shown in special literature, but not in tourist literature. All right, so I tried to find it on the map. I tried to use Google Maps from Jericho to Beth-El. Nothing came up. They sent me all the way Route 1 to Jerusalem, 26 miles. It's supposed to be 16. I'm sure Yehoshua didn't have time or energy to make that circle. Well, it's just an additional additional 10 miles. So from Jordan to Jericho, it's about 5 miles. So 5 miles from Jordan River and the additional 16 if you go straight. But if you go the way Google sends you, it takes more. If you use Apple telephones, a little bit better, but still not as good. Still not as good. So I was trying to use old maps. Some type of dirt road shown here. Interesting enough, here's like a Star of David, and it's a sign for police station. They say maybe there's a police station there, but I mean, there's no information whatsoever. So basically, in the end, it's an important part because you go to a book of Yehoshua. First, you cross that Jordan River, took over the Jericho, place unknown. And then, if you go systematically, the next step would be going from Jericho to like actually not Beth-El, but still you need to find where they went, how it worked. So I tried and tried and tried, and finally I got frustrated. And I just hired a guy on a Jeep, and we went and researched. Okay, so this is this guy. It's 2021. He lives in a place called Kerem Arava. We had additional 5 or 6 people with us, and we just went on a trip. Kerem Arava is that's where he's from. So he is like a little bit south and more west from Jericho. So there's like a little settlement there, not very big, but it's people live there. Although it's probably the hottest and the least watered place in the world. I just want to make that point again. So you get out of the Jordan River, you go west, you go more or less flat, and then all of a sudden you have almost a vertical wall. This is a picture, the pop-up. So unless you go a certain route, there's not that many. It's very difficult to climb to get to the mainland. It's like only 3 or 4 different paths. I'm not 100% sure those are the same. If you talk to geologists, they would say that over the years, of course, the landscape changes. But basically, if you make a straight line from Jericho to Bethel, you end up with that Vadi Tzvaim, and that's more or less where they probably went, or at least close to it. So we went to that Vadi. So first of all, we need to go a little bit back, since we're trying to make a comprehensive biblical references to path from Jericho to Bethel or to Ai. First is Abram and Lot. Right. So it's a famous story. Abram and Lot, they had their herd, they have their shepherds were arguing with each other, say, let's split. So Abram stayed at Beth-El, and Lot went east and ended up you put his tents all the way to Sodom and Gomorrah, but the only way to get down from Beth-El is to use the same road. And this is the support of my theory by Yonah Haroni, little red thing. So he went from Beth-El to the area of Jericho, and there are multiple pictures about them separating. I mean, those are not great pictures, but I like to see how the artists see there's a lot of vegetation there. They think there's a lot of vegetation there. they look and see how good it is, how much water there is. On and on it goes here, like all the flocks and sheep and whatnot. This is what it looks like. Very different. This is, I think, June 2nd or June 3rd, 2021. In spite of this fact that it's so little water, first of all, some people live in the tents. And we were saying, like, is it dangerous, not dangerous, whatever. Throughout our half-day journey, we saw this, and we saw one guy. He tried to speak with us in Hebrew. We spoke with him, and well, the tour guide or the driver spoke with Arabic. That's the only person we met for the whole day. I mean, he's definitely the better or Arabic. Some guy there speaks Arabic. I mean, I can't distinguish. I wish I could.
Yeah, they have different.
Good, nice and friendly guy. But this is the only person we met for the whole day. All right, so this is the way it goes, and that's how you can pretty much go up from the Jordan River Valley to the Beth-El area. A few more pictures. Here I made like a little sum up of the whole book of Yehoshua up to chapter 10. I don't know if we're going to go all the way to chapter 10, but first few chapters are pretty straightforward, except for the Givon. Givon is next to Jericho by description, but nobody knows where it is. And then we'll try to go systematically, again, crossing the Jordan River. Probably going to go a little bit faster now because we've already been looking for some time. Crossing. Another picture of Doré. This is a good picture because it shows that the rocks are really, really steep. They're almost vertical, kind of similar to what we see in real. Another picture from Italy, 15th century. That's what it looks like. I didn't know that. I mean, that access to Jordan River and this particular location was not available for people until 2011 for security reasons. But what you see at the back of the picture, this is the country of Jordan. So basically, you can go to that Jordan River if you're gonna like climb over that little net which is in the middle. You basically go to Jordan. And the people are there today. So until 2011, it wasn't available. A lot of people go here because Christians, baptism, that was 2023, we went there. These soldiers, and I did a little pop-up of the picture. It's interesting. This is the water level of Jordan River. So everything, some years when it's like a lot of water, everything that we see here goes under the water. This is just recently, February 2025. And again, water in front of you. So those people who we see on the back of the picture are the Jordanian tourists, Jordan flag, this type of thing. So, I mean, that's available. That's a lot of tourists are there. Okay, this is 2025, and somehow all the tourists which you saw, that's our group, our Muslims. On the background, all the tourists are Muslims. I don't know why they came there, but there was no other tourists that day. All right. So after that, going to the next level, next chapter, Jericho. Walking around Jericho 7 days around Kodesh, then Jericho trumpet, the walls fell down. It's all pretty straightforward because Jericho is known where it is. You have sources of water, and sources of water don't know. Bunch of pictures here. That's what we see Jericho from the top. We didn't go inside Jericho. It's not that safe to do. And then, basically, we are in business. We want to figure out how they went from Jericho to Ai, and they went 3 times. First, they failed to conquer because there was a guy who Ahan, booty, which you're not supposed to take from Jericho. And this is Ahan being executed. Again, one of the pictures. And those are, I mean, those are the things we see. A couple of monasteries here. That's interesting monasteries. The buildings are not made from brick. They just cut them inside in the rock. So whatever the rock it was, they just cut the inside and they how they made those monasteries. There are 2 of them. This is one, and again, that's how the road starts. You kind of get through the wadi, not to go that steep, and then you continue on west. That's another monastery also cut in the rock, as in Tarental or Temptation. Whatever. Though most of them that are not like made from brick, they just cut from the rock. Those type of things you see. That's probably how the Jews went to conquer Ai. Maybe this road, maybe a road a little bit next to it, but that's dirt road, nothing else, not marked by anything. So we have a few pictures here of modern Beth-El, but that's not exactly where the Beth-El was, because typically when they put a new city, they make it next to the place where they think the original ancient city was, but not exactly one. So this is the city of Bethel. It's probably like some type of medieval construction. They have broken a little bit of stones here, but that's what the historical part of Bethel is. And then I didn't do that, but my tour guide went on his own and sent me a couple of pictures. This is Beitin, this is biblical Bethel. They did a lot of excavation there at some time, but now it's all on hold because of political reasons. That traditional location of Jacob Dream since 4th century. I mean, those are unique because it's not very safe to get there. And city of Y also not my pictures. All right, and they went second time to Y. I won the battle, burning it. That's all well known. Yehoshua was holding his spear until they finished the battle. And that was interesting. They went to Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, or Ebal, which is like way off the road. So, yeah, something like that. So we have Jericho and Bethel there, and Shem and Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal way far. How they get there? They go by Jordan River bank and went up. Where they first went, nobody knows. But it's really like a big distance from there. But again, those places, I mean, they're not exactly that you can go inside them, but you can go around and see them. It's possible. Those who haven't been there, that's a view from Mount Kabir. Again, this is definitely very far away from our main discussion, but you can see Mount Gerizim, Mount Ebal. There's a famous Jewish settlement along Moreh, Moshav, and there's also like a winery on Har Bracha. And there's also Samaritans there. I mean, not all of them, but few. So some years ago, in 2014, I went to Samaritans. It was interesting. So they use their own alphabet, but the words are in Hebrew. It's exactly the same. Right, but if you see Merkaz, you can basically do like Sherlock Holmes. You can say the first letter is Mem because on Hebrew it's called Merkaz. So you can go like letter by letter and make an alphabet if you never done it before. So Samaritan Museum. This is the high priest. He's giving out the whole tour for $20. Samaritan High. It's an interesting. They were about to become extinct. But I think there were like less than 100 of them. And then I think he was the one who allowed them to marry. I guess not Samaritans. So a lot of Ukrainian women became Samaritan. Now there's like 500 or 600 of them. So, but he's the high priest. This is blessing and curse that we were talking about from the museum. This is the sukkah. This is where they do the sacrifices. They still do them. And what's on the top? It's mezuzah. So that little writing is Shema Israel mezuzah. Mezuzah. They do mezuzah on the top. On the top, that's mezuzah. That's Samaritan mezuzah. Yes. I know Samaritans do this stuff. They're not Jewish.
No, but it is from Torah.
Well, that's how they do it. And this is Shema Israel. Again, you can just if you knew the alphabet, you would be able to do it. That's like a few pictures from that trip. That's the Gerizim. This famous Yehoshua altar there. We off the road. We just want to quickly there we are because we would consistently go from step to step. Book of Yehoshua. This is Shem, Nablus, in the middle of the place where Joseph was buried, Kever Yosef. I think they say that the border between Ephraim and Menashe, or his sons, or exactly through the burying place of Joseph. And I made this picture myself from Har Bracha, so as you can be close to it. You cannot go inside without that. This is available. All right. And next step, we would need to learn a little bit more geography. Probably have additional 15 minutes. So we're going now from Gilgal to Givon. Givon made a pact with Israel. They tricked the Israelites, and then Yehoshua felt that he needs to help them because the local Canaanites can attack them. So he went very quickly. They said like one night he went from Gilgal to Givon, and after that he moved very quickly, started to fight different Canaanites. And those are the stories about the sun and the moon was stopped because he had to finish the fight before they were able to run away and hide in the cities. So let's go to the geography a little bit. So instead of going straight to Beth-El, we're going like probably 2/3, and then you need to make it a little bit south. Now, if you can see that Valley Souvenir, it's a pretty deep valley. So not every place you can go north-south. You need to find like some type of pass where it's not that deep. And that pass is called Michmash or Michmas. And there's a famous story about it. The famous town is Michmas or Michmash. And it's Geba Binyamin. And the pass is just between those two places. So he went. Some people say actually that he didn't go this route, but most agree that he went there. And from there, he had to go from Geba to Givon, then Beth-Horon, and chase the Canaanites all the way to south. But we're not going to go that very far because it becomes a little more complicated. Here we need to introduce the concept of Central Benjamin Plateau. It's a diamond shape. It's just north of Jerusalem. And it has like 4 cities in the corner and 1 in the middle. Each one of them been referenced in the different places in Tanach, but this is like very, very close to Jerusalem. Some are kind of close to Beth-El. Some are like safe, some are not that safe, but some of them we can see. Well, those are the pictures, and I guess Jonathan Haroni wanted to show that they went this way and crossed from Michmash. So they almost all the way to Beth-El, but they made slightly south to get to Geba and then chase the Canaanites south. Givon is a famous place. A lot of archaeologists there, books written about it. Other mentioned in Tanach. When King David was becoming the king of the whole country, there was a match between northern and southern soldiers, on and it goes. Bunch of things, bunch of archaeology, but we're not getting there. Those are the pictures of Givon. The same Givon, it's difficult to get there because again, it's not that safe. But I was trying just to make the same picture. I made it from the place called Nebi Samuel, which is like very close to Jerusalem. Nice, probably like fortress made during the Crusaders. And those who haven't been there, this is what it looks like. A museum there. There's a little synagogue inside. Some places are Muslims, some places are Christian, but there's also like part of it is allocated to just a regular synagogue. From there, they went to a place called Beit-Horon, and Beit-Horon is more west. And on Beit-Horon, there was hail and stones, and more of the Amorites were killed from hail and stone than from the Jews. Beit-Horon is well known. So old picture of Beit-Horon. That's how you went there. There's a road going from basically from the Mediterranean all the way to Beit-Horon and to Jerusalem. I tried to make it myself first from the east. Then I was trying to make it from west, from Madian. The road is probably somewhere here. And of course, professional picture from the use of the drone or something show that's the Beit-Horon region. Anyway, so that's how they would chase. How Yehoshua was running after them, and that's how he conquered basically central and southern part of Israel. And the next place they went was the Valley of Ayalon, which is really the center of the country. Everybody who was going from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv saw it, but it's kind of, we don't think about it this way. Okay, the nice thing, we're going like straight, then we're going up the hills, and all this, like they show us the sun and the moon and whatnot. And he said to stop. So I was trying to kind of make it and see what it is. If you look at Wikipedia, that's what they're going to show you. There's a train going into the tunnel. It's kind of here, but it's still kind of difficult to find what exactly it is. Where it does stop. So I made one picture. It's a place called Tel Ayalon. I made it from there, kind of like understanding, but not that much. The second try, I tried that's from Kiryat Yarim. This is a pop-up. So we clearly see the Modi'in, and everything south from Modi'in is like that Island Valley. But of course, the best way to see it would be from the place called Gezer. And here you can see this is like mountains, this is Modi'in, and this is the Valley of Beit Haron, and that's where you go to the mountains. So you can see that in the pop-up, you can clearly see what it is. This is the classic Island Valley where the moon stopped and the sun stopped at Givon. Yes. I like it so much, I made like the whole panorama of the pictures. That's what it looks like. A little bit to the right, it's like a lady was sitting there and reading a book just for fun, didn't pay attention to us. This is the whole group, and we can kind of clearly see how the Gezer control the access to Island Valley. Okay. For those who like very interested in that's called Benjamin Plateau. There, as I said, it's like a diamond shape. There's Givat Shaul at the bottom, pass to get there from Michmash to Geba, Givon on the left, Mitzvah on the top, Ram in the middle. Each one of them has been mentioned in multiple times. I mean, first of all, you cannot get to most of them. It's just too dangerous. But Givat Shaul is interesting. We can have a couple of pictures there. Okay, here what I want to say, when you go into border between tribes, step by step, book of Yehoshua, from like chapter 11, 12, up to 20, have a border between Binyamin and Ephraim. And the border between Binyamin and Ephraim exactly follows that same route from Jericho to Beth-El. That's why I mentioned here, because it's an important landmark. And again, we call it Tzvaim route, which is a route of hyenas. And that's one of the atlases showing that Benjamin on the south, Ephraim on the north, and from Jericho to Beth-El is a border. Now we're going to go to the book of Judges. Quickly mention about Judge Yehud, who was Benjaminite. So he was left-handed, but he was from the tribe of Benjamin. And a bunch of pictures about him, and he was like basically operating in this area, the king of Moab, Eglon, and he was actually sitting in the town of Jericho. He was assassinated. The left-handed guy assassinated him, and from that on, the Jews, there was like a peace in the land for 40 years or something like this. So a bunch of pictures about that. The story of concubine that again. We're not going to get much into that story, but I want to say that all the towns mentioned are on that Benjamin Plateau. And most of them are like well known and known were there. So I made some pictures, which each one of them, but we're only going to go to, again, those are so rare. Just put some references. Mitzvah, this is Ramah, this is Ramah Kuapat. Givat Shaul is an interesting place. I know people saw it. So that was an area which belonged to the country of Jordan until 67. So unfortunately, King Abdullah of Jordan built himself a palace on the top, very nice palace, but he didn't have time to finish it, and the like unfinished buildings stay there. You can go to the top. Actually, you can. It's a very nice view, but unfortunately, because of that, they don't do any excavation there. But this is like a well-known landmark. It's just from the top, just a little bit more. But that's the place, and we actually were able to get there. Okay, now we're going to the book of Shmuel. Kind of finished with the book of Yehoshua about that the road from Jericho to Bethel. We're quickly going to mention about the book of Shmuel. He went to his circle, and they mention about Beth-El, Gilgal, Mizpah, the same places. That's his circle. I think he was going down to Gilgal, which is next to Jericho, probably from Jerusalem. He was coming back. Going probably from Jericho to Beth-El. That's approximately the theory. Now moving forward, and we're talking about Jonathan and his bodyguard. And Jonathan and his bodyguard, when we hear the story, it's very, very precise description what they did and how they did it. Without being there, it's almost impossible to follow. So again, this is slightly south from route to Jericho to Beth-El. But the police team were there, and they were at Michmash, and then this is the general traditional understanding, they were just guarding the pass. They were not guarding the deeper part. And they specifically say that it's like one rock is called Bozez, and the other one is called Sena. And what Jonathan and his bodyguard did, they climbed that valley, and they crossed it slightly east, and all of a sudden they attack the Plishtim unexpectedly because nobody thought that they will be able to cross on such a steep wall. So that's the description. That's what they did. They climbed and then they attacked them from the side. Bunch of different pictures here, and all this is like I did a little pop-up here. So it's Michmas, they say. They have a road sign how to get there, why we need, and the pass. Kind of what it looks like from the far. This is the other side, so it's hard to cross. My pictures again, whatever I was able to do, and this my tour guide. He went there and looked at it. So basically, he's there. One kid is at the bottom. The other kid is basically doing the same that Jonathan did, climbing steep. That's exactly what they did. They climb up and then attack the Plishtim. Okay, so we are a little late. So the professional picture shows you have the Bozel and Sene cliffs and the pass where it's easy to get across the Wadi Souvenir is a little bit west. Another picture of the same place. This is from different book, but it's the same idea. All right. Now we're going from the story of Jonathan and his bodyguard to the divided kingdom. The border between north and south, Israeli kingdom in the north and kingdom of Judah in the south, was probably going through the same road from Jericho to Beth-El. And we have a story about King Baasha, King Asa. They were fighting. They were like making the some fortresses along the border, whatnot. And they show this on this little maps. A few more things to say.
Same border as a
Well, nobody knows for sure. My theory is that at the time they didn't have enough pegs and enough ropes to demarcate the border. And of course, they were not like guarding the whole border, guarding the roads going north-south to prevent but approximately there. And you have Eliyahu Navi, Elisha. Eliyahu Navi went the other way. He went from Beth-El, went down to Jericho, crossed the Jordan River, and went to heaven in his chariot on the eastern side of the Jordan River. And Elisha went back, and again, description of them, how they going. And Elisha was first, he cleaned the water in the water in Jericho, and then he went up, and on the way to Beth-El, the story when the kids were saying "boldy, boldy," so he did something. 2 bears came up and ate all these bad children. Last 2 things. One is like Google Isaiah, Yeshayahu is very difficult, but there's like some passages there where he's talking about Assyrian advance, and he describes how they go from the north, how they cross between Michmash and Givon, and so on. This is here, and so he gives some description of the same road, and sounds but they're more specific. Okay, so I think that most of it, but in the end, I will share one thing which is to me is very exciting, and I just read the whole thing. And this is a story from the First World War. So the main objective of Great Britain at the end of the First World War was to achieve dominance in the Middle East. Expeditionary Corps under the command of General Allenby was engaged in the driving Turkish force of Palestine. On August 31st of 1917, a regiment of Royal Camel Drivers entered Beersheba, and on the 14th of February 1918, the 60th Division received an order to attack Jericho and to push Turks to the eastern bank of the Jordan River. The first step of the operation was to capture a small village called Michmash or Michmas, which was situated on a high stony hill with protruding rocks. The initial plan for the infantry was to go up on a steep ascent at the northern side of the village and to engage in a frontal attack, which of course would have caused multiple casualties. There were significant Turkish forces in the village, and they were prepared for fierce resistance. The name Michmash was mentioned several times during a military staff meeting, and it sounded familiar to one of the division officers. After he came back to his tent, he thumbed through the Bible under the candlelight until he found the right page. When he read the story of how Jonathan and his bodyguard climbed steep walls of the canyon to attack the enemy, he imagined the fear of the running away Plishtim, who were thinking that they were encircled by Shaul's army. The officer took the story as invaluable military information He woke up the brigadier general and read a Bible passage to him. It seems to me, he said, that the protruding rocks, the path through the canyon, and a small plateau over the top still exist. Why wouldn't we try to use the Jonathan Pass to achieve a similar effect instead of sending the troops to the frontal attack? The scout who was sent to investigate the area in the light of the moon easily discovered the rocks, the pass, and a small plateau on the top. The time god has not changed much of the terrain here, says the general. The initial plan of attack was changed, and a small regiment was sent via Jonathan Pass. When they encountered a Turkish post, they attacked, and the enemy fled in disarray. The noise of the fight caused a panic along the rest of the Turkish soldiers, who started shooting in all directions, mistakenly taking the Rhine Turks for advancing British forces. The regiment and an additional support group pushed the enemy out of the village without difficulty. None of the Turks escaped. All were either killed or taken prisoners. The British officer who won the fight for Mikhmash village was Major Gilbert Wine. So that's the story. It's in Wikipedia. Just the guy knew about those two things, knew the Bible, and used it as a military information.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ofman, for coming to us and illuminating us with the actual experience of feeding Eretz Israel, even virtually. We've been learning a lot of Kitver of Cook, how it's important to put Eretz Israel as a part of our heart. And I think that's amazing presentation gave us like a real sense of it. And the past and the present and the land and the mitzvah going to the land and step each place where you step. It was very came through your both beautiful pictures, interesting historical accounts.
Any questions from the far side of the Zoom world? Going once?
Where is it?
The way I understand it,
Uh-huh.
if you are building a modern town, I called it an ancient name, it's supposed to be close to the ancient specifically not we know Bitar is. I probably, again, I never investigated it. There's a place called Beatty, which is near a village, which is kind of big and which is dangerous to get up. But I think I had one of the pictures. I don't know. I presented a couple of pictures of the place. That's what I consider should be an ancient. I think there's still a little bit controversy on it, but if you look at the most of the references that again, this is more like goes towards like archaeology. You need to find the place, you need to identify the place, you need to live there, want to live there. Yeah, but that's what they think. To me, it wasn't that important because it's always like a mind. I'm not trying to say exactly we're going point A to point B, and I would say we're going from area A to area. That means from around Jericho to around Bethel. Where exactly the places are, within, right? Okay, so that's.
Jericho? Oh, the first place you mentioned. First time we thought. Yeah, I was there.
It's a huge town.
Jerusalem. Yeah.
Gary Dean was the vegan and
10 years. So.
but if you like a regular tourist, very
Something for shuffle. You let us shuffle, huh?
Yeah, we also can find that seat, which is south of there.
Right.
yeah.
Excuse me. I think David Prinz coming in over Zoom has a question. David, can you unmute yourself?
Yep, thank you very much, and thanks, much appreciation for setting this up and giving us the opportunity to participate from afar. I'm quite afar, I'm in the Southern Hemisphere. Question about Gilgal, because you mentioned that Gilgal near Jericho, we don't know where it is, but there certainly is Gilgal on Shmuel's circuit, which is interesting, Gilgal being Legalgel to be a wheel. Is there some sort of significance in the word Gilgal in meaning a wheel and circle, etc., that perhaps isn't exactly the place name, but more a nickname for a place, and that nickname can be used in different geographical locations?
The one theory I heard, the 67 interesting
They are not close to Jericho. The closest one is Targaman, 7 months. Those places, the secret they've been called, they definitely done for something. But they definitely not the one can go. The one which is referred in the book of Yehoshua, of course, supposed to be very close to Jericho. And I don't think they have any good theory about where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from across the internet? Okay, back to local audience questions, if there are any. Well, if that's it for questions, I want to thank you, Dr. Ofman, and look forward to hearing more.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Dr. Ofman, some of the remote users ask you to repeat the questions when locals ask them because they.
Sure. The question is about the road from Jerusalem to Beth-El, which is an ancient road. Why did the British made a bend and instead of going to Jericho, made the road from Jerusalem to the answer is that the British have no business in Jericho because Jericho was a small abandoned village, and they wanted to get salt, specifically potassium salts, from the Dead Sea for industrial usage. So they used the ancient road for some time, and then they went toward where they needed to do. Jericho wasn't a big place, and there was no interest to do it.
Thank you very much. We're going to say goodbye now. Thank you all.